Everyone, Brick City Brown Chick coming back at you with another episode. You have seen a lot of me this week. Usually I upload one video a week, but this is a topic I am particularly passionate about. So, welcome back, everyone. This week's topic is about Black women who date out, meaning who date outside their race, who date and marry people who are not Black men. We have all heard the saying of love who you love. And my version of that is love the one who loves you, regardless of what that person looks like. But that's a really simplistic way to look at it. And it's a very hard thing for many Black women to come to. So let's talk about why that is. I am the Black child of two Black parents. My parents were married for more than 27 years when my father died of cancer. They fought sometimes because all married people fight. And if married people tell you they don't fight, they're lying. But mostly they were happy. I was a daddy's girl. My father's love and support were incredibly important in my life. And I've heard a lot of people talk about why Black children, particularly Black boys, need Black fathers. But I wanted to say right off the bat that Black girls need fathers too. Black girls need good fathers. And I am forever thankful and grateful that I had a great one. Why is the topic even of Black women dating out so complicated and so controversial? Because the reverse isn't, right? Black men have been dating out since the end of slavery. That's just reality. But for Black women, that has not come nearly as easily. I heard a content creator say a couple of weeks ago that this is because Black women are ingrained with the following phrase: it is your responsibility to uphold and maintain the Black family. Now, I have heard versions of that statement over the course of my life, but I never heard it put quite that way. And I understand where she is coming from. Black women are the backbone of the Black family. Now, why that is a whole nother conversation. But the short version is, after slavery, when Black men were out working, Black women were also out working, but they were also taking care of the households. You had Jim Crow. A lot of Black men were put in jail for various and sundry crimes, some real, some made up. And that left the Black woman to, again, run the household, rear the children, work, all of those things. So as time has progressed, it has become more acceptable, both in American society and within the Black community, that Black men would choose non-Black women. Initially, it was mostly white women that Black men chose. But even over the course of my lifetime, that has changed significantly. They do choose white women, but in recent years, they have also strongly chosen Latino women. Why this is also a whole nother discussion topic. But for this conversation, let's say it's because for a lot of America's history, a black man marrying a white woman was seen as his marrying up, was seen as, oh, he can now be accepted by white society because he has a white wife. And that is not the same reaction he would have received had he married a black woman. What is also part of that has become the increasing popularity of black man red pill content. What do I mean by that? There are a lot of podcasts by black men who talk about what's wrong with black women and why they have chosen or choose to date and marry women who are not black. Some of this content is, let's say, thought-provoking to an extent, but a lot of it is just flat out trash. It just is. It is black men talking about black women, the women they came from, their mothers, their grandmothers, their sisters, saying that black women are too loud and too bossy or too fat or fake because we wear braids and weaves and get fingernails and all this type of nonsense. And these podcasts have done a lot of brainwashing for black men, but also for some black women to say, if I am going to find my mate, if I am going to find the black man that is meant for me, what that means at the end of the day is I need to dim my light. I need to not shine so much. I need to not talk about my accomplishments. I hear a lot of black men say when they meet black women talk about their education and what they've accomplished. And I've heard a lot of black men say, we don't care about that. We don't care what your education is, which is such an offensive thing to say and to feel to someone who is rightly proud of how much they have accomplished in life. Tyler Perry got himself into trouble with a lot of black women probably almost a year ago now. He did an interview where he said black women are the problem with the black family because black women are refusing to accept black men as they are. And one of the things he said that really pissed black women off was, if you meet a man and he's a good man, but he can only pay the light bill, you need to accept him as he is and build him up and not be frustrated by the fact that he can only pay a light bill. The problem with statements like that and beliefs like that is that would never work in the reverse, right? If you, as a woman, met a man and you said to him, listen, I don't have a job, or I can only contribute this to the relationship or whatever, he would turn around and walk away from you. That is not an expectation of men, but that is an expectation of women, that we will settle, that we will lower our standards, that we will not stand in the truth of who we are, that we will put all that to the side in order to find our mate. And for Black women, that 9 times out of 10 means a Black man. So as of 2025, the group of people in America who are the oldest who have never been married are Black women. The percentage of Black women in their 40s who have never been married is past 30%. And people have all kinds of opinions about why that is. Like I said, Black men have said it's because Black women are too, let's just use the word obnoxious. They think Black women are too obnoxious. White women think we're too bossy. White men think whatever crazy nonsense they think. So people have all kinds of opinions about why that is. What no one is talking about are the facts that a lot of Black men are in jail. Some Black men are dead because either they were doing things that were illegal or they were caught up in something at the wrong place or the wrong time that had nothing to do with them. And the third piece of that is the undereducation of Black men. While Black women are now the oldest in terms of their average age of getting married, the flip side to that is Black women are the most educated people in the United States. We are the people by percentage of the population who have the most bachelor degrees, who have the most master's degrees, who have the most PhDs. We are the most well-educated group in the United States. You would think that would make finding a mate easier, but it doesn't, because many Black women carry around what I call generational baggage. Now, what does that mean? That goes back to the phrase I talked about a few minutes ago. Black women are expected to be the backbone of the Black family. When that is drilled into your head 4 years from your childhood through your adulthood, you look at dating through a very different lens. Now, what I can honestly say is that is not a phrase I ever heard from either of my parents. I don't think either of my parents spent a lot of time thinking about who I was going to marry. My parents were educators. They were both school teachers. They had high expectations for me academically, and they were focused on my academic future. They were not focused on my romantic future or trying to marry me off or concerned about if I was going to meet a man or not. Now, that did change a bit after my father died, because all of a sudden it was just my mother. And I was 17 when my father died, so I was at sort of a critical age. And she really did start thinking about, she wanted to make sure I was taken care of, that if something happened to her, that I had someone I could depend on. What I always told her was that she and my father raised me to depend on me. So I didn't need a man to take care of me, just like she didn't need my father to take care of her. They got married because they loved each other and they wanted to be together, but they both had their own jobs and their own money and all that sort of thing. And so that is the child they raised. But because she was a Black woman who grew up in the Jim Crow South, when all the Black women in her family were all married, all had husbands, all of that sort of thing, she carried that forward with her, even though she raised a highly independent woman. I am very thankful that my parents did not saddle me, for a lack of a better word, with that responsibility of thinking, oh, I have to marry a Black man and have children and continue this Black family. Otherwise, I am doing my community a disservice. I can't imagine being raised with that responsibility, to begin to tell that to your daughters when they're 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. I can't begin to imagine that. And so I think partially because I did not grow up with that burden, when I started dating, I had no thought about needing to only date Black men. Now, full disclosure about my life, I have only ever seriously dated white men. And when I say that to people, people have all kinds of feelings about that because they feel like that was a conscious choice on my part. It was not a conscious choice. I'll give an example. When I was in college, the college I went to had, I guess there were about 3,000 students. Of those 3,000 students, there were maybe 50, 60 of us that were Black in any given year. And so we frequently bonded as a group, and sometimes we would hang out and talk about, what we now call microaggressions, but let's just call it what it was. Some of the racist crap that went on campus and things we had to deal with. So, of course, in that group, probably 30 of those people were guys, and I got along with all of them really well. But, well, first of all, I was the out-of-state girl. I wasn't from there. That was always a thing. And I was the smart girl. I was the academic. I was the girl who was totally laser focused on getting her education, and I wasn't going to get distracted. So I was never the girl they wanted to date. I was the girl bestie. I was the pal. I was the girl they talked to about stuff that was going on with their girlfriends that they needed advice about. But I wasn't the sought after woman. The men who did seek me out were white. They liked me because I was smart, because I was confident, because I was clear about what I wanted my life to be, because fill in the blank, any sort of reason. And so those were the men who asked me out. Now that gets into a whole modern conversation, which again is a topic for another video, about younger women now, Gen Zs, feeling like it's okay for women to ask men out and all that. Okay, that is one piece of baggage I did grow up with, which was, a lady did not approach a man. Like, that was not a thing. So I didn't ask guys out. Guys asked me out. And the guys who asked me out were white. And that's just how it went. That did not change after college. And that clearly didn't change years later because the man I married was white. And so it didn't register for me that that was not something that wasn't okay. Now, was I delusional? Absolutely not. Did I know then, like I know now, that America is racist as hell and people have issues with situations like this? Absolutely. But what I also knew was it was my life and I was going to live it my way. And I really didn't give a rat's ass what people thought about that. But not all, in fact, most Black women didn't grow up that way and don't look at the situation that way. I got into a huge argument about a year ago with a good friend of mine named Dee. And what happened a year ago is that she was engaged to her ex-husband, which most of her friends thought that was a terrible idea, but okay. And with a couple of months to go until the wedding, he called it off. And of course, she was upset and devastated and brokenhearted. And as she worked through that pain, she got to a place where she said, I'm done dating. I'm not doing this anymore because I'm fed up and I've had it. She's like, I've raised 2 kids on my own because neither of their fathers were loyal, capable, any of that. And I just don't want to do this anymore. And what I said to her was, maybe you need to expand your horizons, because she is a Black woman my age who has never and does not date outside her race. She only dates Black men. And I said, listen, the number of Black single men who are our age, who have their act together, is not high. So maybe you need to look at this differently and say, okay, I'm going to open up my horizons to other men and other things. And she said she could not and would never be able to do that because she has a Black son. Her son is in his early 20s, and she wants to be able to show him Black love and help him understand the significance of Black love. Now, if you've watched this podcast and you've heard me talk about this topic, you know that for me, the phrase Black love is like nails on a chalkboard. Because what it means is, in order to have Black love, you have to have 2 Black people to have a Black family. And I'm not a person who believes that, because had my husband and I had children, those children would have been Black by any bar or any measure you want to use. That's just how American society is. So it's an argument that I was just so frustrated with. And by the time we finished talking about it, I had not moved the needle on her opinion at all. And I had frustrated myself all the heck. So I decided I wasn't going to talk about that again with her. But that is how a lot of Black women feel. I have heard Black women express the opinion that if they date or marry someone outside their race, what they are signaling is they have given up on Black men. And because as Black women, we are the backbone of the family, that's not something they can do. And my counter to that is, even if that means you spend your life alone because you never find that Black man who meets the threshold of your needs and your wants, is that okay for you to be alone for your entire life because you never found that person? To me, it really does cut off all of your possibilities. The world is full of possibilities, right? But if you limit the scope and you make it smaller and smaller, what you do is make it less likely that you will ever find your happiness. So from my perspective, I really think Black women need to let go of the programming we've been fed that it is our responsibility to carry the Black family forward. It is both Black women and Black men's responsibility. But if the Black men are not meeting the threshold, not meeting the challenge, then you as a Black woman need to let go of being responsible for all of it. It's like, was it Cicero or Atlas? I forget. But whoever had to hold up the world in mythology, you can't hold up the world by yourself. And you cannot bring an entire community along with you as a person. At the end of the day, it is your life, and you are responsible for your happiness. You can't take your happiness and make it have this bigger, grander meaning if the other people who are responsible for this are not holding up their end of the bargain. Now, before people go all psycho in the comments, I am not saying that there are not Black men who can meet the threshold. That is not what I'm saying. But we all need to be real. And we all need to understand that for a lot of Black men, Black women are not an option because they choose for Black women not to be an option. They don't want to date us. They don't want to marry us. They want somebody who is very different. And that's fine. That's their prerogative. Black women have to get to a point where we also say, you know what? That's our prerogative too. And we don't care that you're upset about it. You have been dating outside the race since the end of slavery, but you act like all of a sudden that we're doing it. It's not okay. And so I need Black women to let go of the guilt and the frustration and the feeling the need to hold the community together. Because we can't do it by ourselves. That's just fact. We cannot. If it's not Black men and Black women together, the expectation can't be that Black women are going to fly solo and do all that. So I say all that to say I am grateful that I did not grow up with the guilt and the insanity of it's my responsibility to keep the community together, because that gave me the freedom to find my happiness in my own life. If I had been raised that way, would I have been in a mental space to meet my husband of the last 26 years? Absolutely not. Because I would not have seen him as a possibility. I heard a woman on a podcast a couple of weeks ago, a Black woman, say that whenever she sees a Black woman with a white man, her first thought is, you're with the oppressor. How can you do that? And I'm going to be totally honest, that is not something that's ever occurred to me. But that's about judging my husband for who he is and not who American history has been. We can't pretend, even though this administration is really trying, we can't pretend that American history isn't what it is. We can't pretend that slavery wasn't real. We can't pretend that a lot of white people in this country today are the descendants of slave masters, just like we can't deny that a lot of Black people, myself included, are the descendants of slaves. That's just fact. But in our personal lives, we have to judge people individually, or we should judge people individually. Now, what people always say when I say that is, Well, how can you be mad at white people as a group or at their white ancestors if you're saying judge people individually? I am saying judge people individually in your personal life, in your personal interactions with people. That has absolutely nothing to do with the system of racial oppression that the United States has set up and seems hell bent on going back to. It has nothing to do with red line laws that keep black people from living certain places. It has nothing to do with wanting to blow up DEI because, God forbid, people be treated equitably and we are a diverse society and be inclusive. It has nothing to do with that. That is a system that is supported by a large group of people in general, but mostly white people. But in your personal, everyday interactions with people, you've got to judge the person who's standing in front of you, right? You've got to say, this person is a good person or this person isn't a good person. This person is racist or this person isn't racist. This person really cares about me and my well-being or they don't. Those are things you have to decide individually. So that is what the difference is between judging people individually and judging people as a group. So, Black women, if you are listening to this podcast and you are a woman who's alone, you're in your 30s or your 40s, you've never been married or you were married and that didn't work, and now you find yourself single, what I have to say to you is open up your possibilities. Open up the thought that you can be happy and find everything you want and need in a man that's not a black man. Let go of your guilt and your pain and your need to make everybody happy, because at the end of the day, the person responsible for your happiness is you, is the person in the mirror. So make the best choice for you. If you grew up with the programming I talked about earlier, I'm not telling you it's going to be easy, because it probably won't be. But you have to love you enough to focus on your happiness, because nobody's going to do that for you. All these people who are telling you that you should only be in a relationship with black men, and if you choose somebody that's not black, you're being disloyal to the race, those people are not going to love you or take care of you or build a life with you. They're just going to lecture you. That's all they're going to do. And at the end of the day, you'll still be here in 20 years alone and wondering what happened. So that is my thought. Black women who are dating out, let go of your guilt and be happy. I want to thank everybody for listening this week. Again, happy Loving Day to all who support it and who are living it. Happy Loving Day to my husband. I love you. And I will talk to everybody again next week. Take care.